Good afternoon, everybody. I appreciate I'm on the graveyard shift, so you're going to have to listen to me for about an hour longer. We're going to split this up into two sessions. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of the Sitecore customer experience maturity model. We've got a bit of an update for you, and we've been doing a lot of work on the experience maturity model. And we've surveyed thousands of people, and I'm going to share some of the insights from this today. And then we're going to do a session afterwards where we're just going to do sort of a general Q&A around the CMS, the DMS, Email Campaign Manager, CRM, and there'll be myself and a few of my colleagues here, John and Steve, who can help answer any questions. So in the spirit of things, if you could come up with any questions that you may have. I love challenging ones, so feel free to go as difficult as you like. Preferably about the Sitecore product, not your partner. And then we'll do a good Q&A session when we're done. And if nobody's got any questions, then straight to the bar. It's all good. So Phil's kind of showed some of these screen grabs already, but I'm going to take them into a little bit more detail. It is absolutely fair to say that the marketing technology landscape has changed drastically in the last 3 years. Phil showed you from the Chief Martech website, great website for marketing technology information. I suggest you subscribe to their updates. You can see that in 2011, there were around 100 companies on this landscape. 2012, 350, and there are over 950 people, 950 individual companies. So they claim there are 947 as today, and if you read the website today, you'll see more logos going up and up. The largest areas are social media marketing. That's to be expected. There is so much product capability here. We've got Hootsuite, we've got all these other different social media and analysis tools, etc., etc. Content management, thankfully, we're in that one as well. So there's loads and loads of vendors in the content management space. And you'll see a lot of those kind of moving into web experience management or customer experience platforms, kind of a bit like Sitecore. Marketing automation. You may have heard of Marketo and Eloqua and Silverpop and all these guys really now starting to move from being an email vendor to a marketing automation vendor. Marketing automation was really born out of the need to automate emails. And that's kind of fair to say. Many organizations, I'm sure you have this here today, you're at a point in your life cycle and your maturity where you have dedicated email people in your business. Email is a mature channel now, as far as we would describe. It's not like personalization. Oh, what's that all about? We'll cover that later. But everybody agrees that for most businesses, email is a key platform. So marketing automation, there is a sort of a bit of a divide between email vendors and marketing automation, and we'll cover a little bit about that later. And business intelligence. Google Analytics is not good enough anymore. That's really important. Statistically analyzed data with a benchmark is kind of okay if you're thinking, well, how many visitors did I get yesterday? But when we look at the guys from Monarch Airlines, the data analysis on, you just look at all those rules. Imagine all those data points that they're able to get access to live in real time. The post-match analysis they want to do on that, that's phenomenal. Google Analytics is not going to do that for them, and business intelligence is a really key market. So, I've just put the slide up for just to give you an idea. And I'm going to show you a slightly revised version of this with some Sitecore-ness later on. You can see that we sit down in, where are we? Just here, according to this marketing technology landscape. But I'm going to hopefully share a few secrets with you when we get towards the end. So let's have a look at marketing investment. So I've done a great job of plagiarizing loads of stats from some very recent articles. eConsultancy, I'm a massive fan of their content, so I'm going to take some of it. This is from their global search spend statistics that they released at the end of last year. We can see this is roughly the expectation in spend of paid advertising over the next 12 months. Top traditional areas. I say traditional, it's a bit of a loose word because, a lot of this is new, but they are traditional in terms of advertising spend. Mobile search, social ads, and paid search are the sort of the key growth areas. That's where the increase in spend or the most amount of spend is going to be. But let's have a look at some new areas. So personalization, email, and web. When I contrasted this article to last year, personalization was not on there. Personalization is now starting to become a real key part of the paid strategy. Now, why do I call it paid? Why do I need to pay somebody, PPC revenue or CPM revenue for personalization? You don't, but that talks about the maturity of the business in terms of the people that you're going to need. Personalization is a strategy that requires business input. So whilst it's not paid strictly, it's really important to think about the type of people that you're going to need to do that. Email and video. Video is going really, really, really fast. If I remember rightly, I think I saw the guys from Stream here today. Is that right? Yep, waving hands over there. They're all here. That's right, because they're recording today. I forget that. So the guys from Stream, another technology partner that wasn't featured on Phil's slides, but video is becoming a massive part of strategy. The ability to personalize video now. That's a subject for another day, but something to watch out for. So let's have a look at some of the marketing investment trends. So let's get down to some real stats. Paid advertising is up by 7% year on year for 2012 and 2013, and is expected to increase by the same figure. That's a huge amount. So PPC is becoming massive. With Google's updates in terms of removing keywords and the HTTPS approach, so that all searches are encrypted, therefore you can't decode the keywords, they've seen a massive surge in paid spend, so they can actually get access to measurable keyword data. Now, somebody might argue, was that a nice strategic move by Google to increase revenue? They've had a few acquisitions recently, and they definitely need some dollar to pay for that. But I do appreciate the privacy that they need to bring to customers. So I'm not quite sure where Google's kind of ethical place sits there. But the need for increase in PPC is definitely correlating with the changes that they have made. 74% of marketers know that personalization increases customer engagement. Another e-consultancy blog there about the 3 major benefits of personalization in marketing. I shouldn't need to talk too much more on that. I hope the case studies that we've seen from Manchester City and from Monarch today really drive that success home. I thought this was a great quote. This is from Andrew Davies of e-consultancy. He's behind some of these articles and quite a regular blogger. Personalization may seem gimmicky at first. There is no doubt that doing it well helps consumers navigate a noisy world in a relevant, helpful, and ultimately profitable way, both for the customer and for you. The biggest thing that you're competing with for customers is their time. And we talked about that earlier on today. It's a war on attention. Personalization can help them get to the relevant information quicker. The best thing that I like about the EasyJet and the Monarch website, and I'm a regular user of both airlines for business and personal, is the fact that it just remembers where I'm searching for. It's so subtle, and I appreciate that's specific to the travel industry, but there are other applications of that very subtle personalization that will make a massive difference to your brand. So attribution. There's no point in doing any of this super-fangled personalization or extra spend or paid or email or social or video unless you can attribute. You have to be able to track. You have to be able to say, this marketing activity resulted in X, whether X is positive or negative. This is a quote I'm sure everybody's familiar with from John Wanamaker. He's an early 19th century entrepreneur. Half the money I spend on advertising is wasted. I just don't know which half. So why is that? And why is that still very true for many marketers? Well, here's something from Forbes. Forbes Insights, mid-last year, produced an article, and companies are still stuck on old attribution models. So let's talk a little bit about this. It says, organizations that try to move beyond basic single-point models face 2 key challenges. Well, let's talk about single-point models. The single-point model refers to, I have an email provider, and I measure my email in the context of email. That's measuring in a single point. What you're not able to do by having a separate email provider to a separate analytics provider is to work out whether the web page views impact the usage of email and vice versa. So that's what we call a single point model. Key challenges: traditional corporate culture that rewards the success of an individual channel. I think that's born out of the limitations of technology. Rather than the company's overall success, and also a lack of consolidated data warehouses. Everybody knows the Sitecore messaging and the Sitecore story. We're Sitecore customers here. I'm from Sitecore. We're Sitecore partners. Sitecore is based around the single database. It's based around the single view of the customer, all the digital data you need in the single platform, which is why I feel that we play really strongly towards that message. And it says, whilst companies often focus on attribution efforts on digital, that's only part of the picture. So this is for another e-consultancy. It says, attribution technology can now bring marketers closer to the holy grail of a single customer view by joining up data from the online and offline worlds to both brand advertising and direct response marketing. And a glimpse into where a brand is doing that and being able to join up, not just online and offline, but shall we say web marketing, content and transactional, was the guys from Monarch. You saw all those rules. They were custom rules inside the Sitecore rules engine, but the API and the framework exists for them to create rules that from an individual customer can delve deep into the insights of their booking engine. Navitaire is an extremely mature, very comprehensive platform that delivers so much insight. It does things like yield management, fare management, revenue management. It's a very mature travel system. But the fact that Sitecore can delve into that data on an individual customer level, that's where we're starting to bring attribution and we're starting to bring data together. So that's, while Sitecore does have a single platform, we also know that we need to integrate with certain systems. So I think you kind of guessed that a lot of the problems that customers suffer here is all around integration, and it is a key issue. There's an article here from Clicks, it's middle of last year, and the title was Technology Integration and Disparate Data Are the Top Marketing Challenges, and there was a study done behind this. So these were the 5 key issues that were derived out of this report, and I think they spoke to something like 300 different brands over this. Technology is too complicated. Teams are not set up to run integrated digital marketing strategy. They have an email guy that uses the email system. They have the analytics guy who uses the analytics system. They have the testing guy, girl, who uses the testing system. Again, they're not set up to talk to each other, not only from a team and where they're sat in the office, but a data perspective. Data is not centralized. It's too expensive and it's too time consuming. The bottom 2 there are arguable. That's a perspective. That's a perception of whether marketing is worth anything to the business. So that leads into the business strategy. Of course, anything's too expensive or too time-consuming if you don't have a reason to do it. You don't have a proven business case around doing it. Well, that's kind of what my job and your partner's job is, to help you create the business case. So I think we can mitigate the too expensive and too time-consuming arguments. But the top 3, that's what you've got to focus on with the technology platform. So is this a question of maturity? It absolutely is. The realities of online personalization. 72% of marketers do not know where to start. Sorry, do not. Yeah, do know where to start. So if e-consultancy have surveyed the market and people don't really know where to start, that's not all Sitecore customers. Naturally, there's going to be lots of other vendors and customers out there. We've done our own research, so I'm going to take you through some of our own research on how that pans out. Siloed data does cause problems, though. And what are those problems? Well, budgets often focus on plumbing. We do have to do some plumbing. You can't get away with it. But unnecessary plumbing is difficult. And there are a lot of systems out there. In that 947 vendor technology landscape, do you really want to have to plumb 13, 14, 15, 16 different systems together just to do basic digital marketing? I don't think so. I'm sure you'd rather have your budget spent on people and driving revenue than plumbing in systems. Quality data is the key to success. That's kind of the first part of this story, but only at the right time. You could plumb 13 different systems together to get data that, quite frankly, you can't use because it's 3 weeks old. It's taken you 3 weeks to grab all that data together. You can miss the opportunity whilst trying to make sense of the data. So there are 2 reasons why you're going to want to move to that sort of single platform message. It almost feels like I'm trying to sell it to you here. I don't need to. You've already bought the software. I'm happy with that. But I'm trying to just get across are you evaluating other technology platforms that you may not know about from a Sitecore perspective? So customer experience with a single silo approach allow marketers to orchestrate one-to-one marketing. We don't need to talk about the systems, you know what they are. The 2 key benefits are real-time access to data for all the tools and faster, more effective post-match analysis. What do I mean by real-time access? I mean the ability to run a test immediately. Woke up one morning, you know what, that blue button there is not really doing it for me. I've got a hypothesis. I think if I changed it to red, it could convert better. Great. You don't want to wait 5 days to actually implement that test. So you walk into your tool, you make that change, and you get on with it. And everybody's going to have to do post-match analysis. We have to have business intelligence. We have to have management information. So that's kind of where we're working towards, and that really talks into John's roadmap in terms of where the Sitecore product is going, providing you more faster, effective, scalable user interfaces for performing these tasks. And the whole market is moving towards this, and I would be interested to see how that technology vendor landscape is this time next year. Will it grow or will it consolidate? And if it consolidates, who will buy what? And that will be really interesting. So, hands up who's seen the Sitecore customer experience maturity model before? Okay, roughly half the room. Okay, great stuff. So I'm not going to go into detail on the model. There's plenty of videos and documents and guides that you can get access to from myself or Steve or any of the Sitecore Red Badge guys around. Just talk to them. We can send you the relevant information. The nuts and bolts of the maturity model is it's a way of positioning you as an organization after evaluating your business capability and your market needs. Not every customer is going to need to be right the way up on this top-level scale here, where they're using intelligence and predictions to optimize cross-channel customer experiences by anticipating the needs of the customer in a timely, relevant one-to-one dialogue. Now, I mentioned that we've done a huge study on this, and we've actually now surveyed over 1,000 people. Over 75% were on the initiate and radiate stage. This is where an organization has a brochure website with a presence on the web, a bit of email campaign, and a bit of web analytics in place. Radiate gets you to a point where you're distributing some content across channels. Maybe you've got a mobile website. Maybe you've got a bit of sharing on social networks. It sounds pretty drab when you think, crikey, how many organizations are on that particular stage of the life cycle? But I look at this a different way. They've got a huge journey, and they've got a roadmap in front of them. So this model goes really deep, and it tells you about all the different activities that you need to perform, the different people, the different needs of your business, and the different verticals. If you were to break it down quite simply with the 7 stages, every business life cycle goes through attraction, conversion, and avocation stages in their business life cycle. If you're a new startup and you're focusing on attraction, then in reality, you're going to be in the initiate, radiate, and align stages. If you're focusing on conversion, then you're probably a growing business and you're probably going through a certain barrier, you're probably established, you've got a differentiator in the market, and you're starting to focus on optimization and aligning your digital initiatives with your business strategy. And naturally, if you're in avocation and engage your lifetime customers, you're probably called Amazon, Apple, Best Buy, those sorts of brands. It doesn't have to apply to the biggest brands, it can certainly apply to the smallest. So this number here is the combined figure. 85.4% of the customers we surveyed, companies we surveyed, were in those first 2 stages. Here's just an example of maturity by industry. You can get access to these stats from myself or any of the Sitecore team, and they'll be, as we go throughout the year, we'll be publishing more and more of this information as we go forward. So there's a lot of data there to consider, but let's look at a particular industry. Financial, probably one of the most mature markets out there. That's really interesting. Is that because of budget? Is it because of people? Is it because of capability? This report does give us a bit of an insight. One of the key drivers was in financial, senior executive management is invested in the success of digital strategy. That was one of the most common driving factors of success in the maturity model. There are other industries here, for example, travel is still quite mature. You can see that by the size of this particular section here. And also entertainment was quite mature as well. I'm not going to sit and talk you through all this data. This is just a snapshot. But if you were to look on the far left-hand side, again, this is just an example of the customer experience level overall for all markets and industries. On the right-hand side, we've got how organizations measure success across digital channels. And this was really interesting because the highest one here was visits. People still measuring success of their website based on visits. We have some who are saying that KPIs are aligned with business objectives, but it always comes down to visits. I was really worried about the 10% who do not measure any digital success. That's quite interesting. So the sales team are giving those guys a call right now. Now, one thing that we want to do with the maturity model, and we work with your partners to do, is to get you round to that value-based metrics. I appreciate in an e-commerce world we have different levels of metrics, but e-commerce is only the end conversion. What we need is an attribution model that can say, you know what, to get to an e-commerce conversion, we have likes and shares and ratings and downloads and all these other little ancillary activities that happen, and they have a value in your chain, in your cycle of conversion. And Sitecore can help you track all of those. If you're non-e-commerce, then great, we've got that covered as well. So work with your partners, with the DMS, to understand all those different goals. It's really simple exercise, and I've been doing this a lot with many different teams. The team from Aqueduct have been doing it with the Man City guys. How many goals did we end up with in the end?
30 or 40.
About 30 or 40. It's a big site, lots of stuff to track, lots of engaging content. If you are a financial services organization, it might be 9 or 10. It's a really simple exercise for you to complete. There is plenty of guides and documentation and materials and workshops and all these other bits and pieces that can be provided, but talk to your partner, sit down with them and work out these goals. In most cases, I have found that a lot of that work has already been done. It just needs slightly translating into a more Sitecore-esque terminology, and that's really easy to do. So if you want access to some of this data and some of these reports, we have a consolidated version which I can provide to you. Now, when we took this data further and then isolated those who were Sitecore customers as opposed to those who weren't, there's quite a big split in the data. We found that most organizations on Sitecore currently now, you guys, and the wider world, you guys, are on the Radiate stage. This is where they have Sitecore in place. They're focusing on distributing content across channels, they likely have a mobile site, and they're focusing on content sharing. When we looked at the most common route of success at the moment, most organizations are getting themselves to align as part of the sort of, you may have heard these referred to as SBOS services. This is Sitecore Business Optimization Services. In the engagements we've had so far, the biggest success and the biggest trend we have is moving organizations from Radiate to Align. And this really is critical in the cycle, whether we do it, your partner does it, or you do it yourself. This is about an organization beginning to align digital initiatives with strategic objectives where you're focusing on achieving strategic goals. That all sounds a little bit fluffy, but what it means is you've got the business buy-in, you've got the senior executive team, the board level discussions are aligned to the features and activities that you're doing on the website. You're not just waking up one morning and going, let's put a blue box on the homepage. There is a reason behind it, there's a process behind it. So I said I was going to show you this slide in a slightly different format. It's a little bit salesy, so forgive me. But this just gives you an idea of what's in the box with Sitecore that can cover that entire landscape, and then through technology partners where we can extend quite nicely. I'm not going to go through it all in individual detail. The slides will be available after this. But sort of key areas are, for example, with email marketing, we have the email campaign manager. With video, we have integrations with both Brightcove, Uyala, and Stream UK. We have business intelligence through Sitecore's Engagement Intelligence Analyzer. That is an OEM integration of the Target platform. If, however, you wanted to integrate Tableau or Cognos or Good Data or any of those other systems that sit in here, that's great. We have what they call a cube, and you can plug that in. Not a problem. We can integrate with your business intelligence solution. Even when we get down into the middleware area, look at how we have data management platforms with an upcoming release that is codenamed Andes, which, John, did you cover that earlier? I was out of the room. Great stuff. So that's coming very, very soon. So we have the data management and customer data platforms where we can more easily integrate. Talking to Matt and the team from Codehouse, they've actually done quite a lot of really impressive integration work between Navitaire, which they did last year, which actually is very close to what we're actually building into the product. I mean, that's brilliant to see a partner like this building technology that we're building. I mean, that's amazing. Cloud connectors for Azure, e-commerce with Commerce Server, uCommerce, and Insight, and so on. And then when we get right the way down into the infrastructure level, we have, big data capabilities. Big data is a bit of a buzzword, but basically we collect a lot of good data. And then we've got the mobile SDK. I know there's a few people in the room we've had discussions with already during the breakout sessions who didn't know Sitecore's mobile capabilities. If you have a mobile application or a mobile website, come and talk to us. We can do some really good stuff with this. A really good one to look at is the RNA, Rules of Golf, really good app, and the Man City applications and so on. So if you didn't know that you had bought into Sitecore and it wasn't just a CMS, this is the headlines. This is where we're going. Sitecore is going to help you redefine this customer engagement. You have the tools in the box. You have the expertise in your organization. You have the expertise in your partner. You might just need a bit of guiding hand or a bit of help or just that compelling event to push you over the edge to get that done. Whatever it is, talk to us, work with us. We can help you with that. I'm just going to throw up some example sites now of customers who are doing this. I don't know all the ins and outs of every single customer. That's what our customer intelligence team will be able to surface for you at a later date. But there are plenty more out there, so forgive me any partners who are sat here going, why is my slides not up there? This is just a snapshot. So we have the team from Codehouse delivering Monarch. We have Fusion Workshop delivered OPP. We have Confused.com. This is actually an internal development team. And just to show a bit of personalization in action, notice how the screenshot brings up my name when I go and asks me to take me to my account. Because I have the ability to retrieve previous quotes, in this particular example, the quotes are not bang up to date. They've actually expired. But if they were live, it would actually list them on the homepage for me. Again, really subtle personalization, bringing stuff out of a quotation engine onto the homepage, reducing the number of clicks. One thing that they do when you get into the My Account area is they apply tests. So they actually run multivariate testing to work out which of these other products are likely going to interest a particular customer. So if you've ever logged into the Confused.com homepage, into the My Account area in the top, you've got pretty much a replication of this as the navigation bar. You'll see that changes and tests based on who you are. Naturally, we have Man City from the Aqueduct team. We have Betfred on a slightly older version of the Sitecore platform, but they're collecting data, and they're doing some good stuff, and they're working very closely with the Aqueduct team to move forward and implement personalization in bits and pieces. Healthspan, another one. Crest Nicholson. IISS, I believe, here today. I don't know exactly what's going on inside these implementations, the partners do, but this is a DMS-enabled customer. Oxfam. There's a really good case study around this from the Sitecore Site of the Year last year and this year. If you wanted to have a look at that, please head to Sitecore Facebook or sitecore.net. There's loads of information here. Not only is this just DMS, but they have the ability to tick buttons inside the Sitecore content tree and turn this into emergency appeal mode. So within a couple of minutes, they can completely reconfigure how the entire site looks and direct everybody towards donations. In fact, that's actually in emergency donation mode right now. Just some other examples, Fusion Workshop team, Saint-Gobain, there are loads more. Steve mentioned we've got just over 20 now where they are turned on, collecting data, running analytics, engagement value points configured, and they are starting to flirt with personalization, testing, marketing automation, and many of those are doing email as well. If you want to know what any of them are doing or which ones are aligned to your industry or how you can leverage it or what the successes and the failures were, then come and talk to us. I'll put up some slides in a moment which kind of talk about, the best way to get help, but do talk to the customer enablement team. That's exactly what they're here for. So some experiences from the field. A lot of the work I've been focusing on the last 6-8 months. Some of you will probably know me from the sales process that you went through. Some of you may know me from just being really annoying at trade shows and events like this and waffling on for hours. What I look after in Sitecore is two things. I look after the sales engineering process and I look after the business optimization team. So that really has two things. One, help us sell more effectively from a technology standpoint, and two, help customers implement the platform as fast as possible, as optimal as possible, and see results. But those services are delivered through partners. So that's a really key message. I work to enable partners, and I would ultimately enable you. I have a team of people who do that with me. These are some experiences that we've had over the last 6-12 months, really implementing Sitecore with these customers. It is absolutely now critical to recognize that clients are successfully and globally delivering the DMS. We're starting to see the results. It's all very well that Sitecore can sell a message and can sell a vision, and I truly believe that our product is architected correctly to deliver on this. But it is so gratifying to see Monarch stand up and share with me an increase in conversions. And I have to thank them so much for that. They don't have to share that data with us. That can be classed as competitive, so you can understand how important that is for us to get that out of them. But there's a massive thank you to the team for sharing that with us. It starts with the business and not the technology. It's all about people and processes. There was a presentation that was done at the Sitecore partner event, which I appreciate some of you may not have seen. There is a video, Thomas Elblum from Pentia. He was talking about the different people and processes and life cycles that are involved in this. If you can grab that presentation from Pentia's site on YouTube, it's very, very useful, very good to watch. Every time we've taken on a DMS engagement, we are always ensuring that the highest possible senior executive is bought into this process. We want to ensure that not only the individual marketer or the individual responsible for the web platform is recognized, but is also successful and also has the power and the ability to get decisions made. The other side of that is that we need to understand what this senior execs, or the board's aspirations are. Where do they want to take the company? Is it a buyout plan? Is it an exit strategy? Is it a growth? What are those business strategies? Once we've got those out of the way, it's much, much easier to deliver the technology in Sitecore. You don't have to deploy everything. There is a lot of kit in the box. I showed you the marketing technology landscape with the Sitecore logos all over it. You don't have to turn all of those on day one. There are two key things that you need to do to get up and running on the DMS and start seeing some successes. Turn on the analytics database, so you're collecting data, and set up those goals. Leave it for 3 months, leave it for 6 months. Just use the dashboards, look at the reports, and see how things go up and down. Contrast it to Google Analytics, contrast it to whatever other tracking platform you're using. And I guarantee you'll start to see some new insights from those dashboards. It might only be minor, but you will see some insight into what people are doing on your site and where they're going. Once you have some insight, we can then make some decisions on behavioral profiling or personalization or testing or marketing automation or email. If you want to do it all in one go, though, great, give us a ring. It's always okay to be apprehensive about new technology. The team from Codehouse, Matt's never phoned me once and asked for help on the DMS. It's really annoying, because I like it when partners ask for help, because it means I get to know what they're doing. But it shows the strength of having a partner relationship. Okay, these guys just go off and do stuff, and then we kind of find out about it, and we go, yeah, that'd be nice, we should put that in the product. That's kind of how it works. Again, that applies to many other partners as well, just picking an example. But it is okay to be apprehensive, and what I mean is, let's work together. Again, if you're not sure about personalization, you saw that quote there about how it appears gimmicky. I think that's a true reflection of how it may be, appear to many marketers. It's just a bit of a gimmick, but it does work. We can make it work. So again, let's work together, and by that I mean yourself and your partner, or yourself, your partner, and us. Brands are desperate to catch up. One of the reports that I didn't show from the customer experience maturity model is the statistics on how many brands feel that they are behind the curve. They feel that they are way down in the low end of the maturity when really they should be further up. There was also a contrasting statistic about the size of the brand and how bigger brands felt they were way further up the model than they really were. So again, many brands are absolutely desperate to catch up. They want to maximize their investment in customer experience, and it's not going away. Customer experience is here. We're in the age of the customer, and this stuff is happening now. So I've talked to you a little bit about some of this data, some of the statistics, some of my thoughts, and some of the successes. I'm a client. Please help me. I can't say this more clearly enough. Talk to your partner first. If you don't have a Sitecore partner and you have your own internal dev team, I would still recommend that you go and talk to a partner, even if it's just for advice and consultancy. But if not, you can come directly to us, and you need to talk to Phil or Steve in the customer account management team. We would love to help. Business strategy, implementation, ongoing, scaling, growth planning. Contact or talk to me or talk to one of the team here today, and we'll do our best to help you. So thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions? Go on, somebody must have one. Okay, in that case then, thank you very much, and then we'll do a product Q&A in a few moments. Thank you. So we did promise the opportunity to do some product Q&A. Does anybody have any questions, or from either myself, John, or Steve, or any of the team that we can sort of help answer? It can be about the roadmap, be about the product, existing implementations, ways forward, statistics. Rob, please.
What's in Sitecore 8?
What's in Sitecore 8? The moon on a stick. No, Sitecore 8. Sitecore 8 doesn't really actually have a defined code name yet. There's no roadmap or anything defined for Sitecore 8 yet. There is Sitecore vNext internally. We've put a lot of work, as John was mentioning, about taking the DMS to a point of scale. We can handle the kind of the ASOSs and the those sort of size sites. The vision from the CEO is to handle the Amazon site stuff. So that's where the next version is going. So scale is really important. The ability to geo-distribute very quickly is important. That's something that we see as demand for many brands. The ability to scale in the cloud very quickly is also part of that program. So again, there'll be lots of kind of transient data storage capabilities where you can, throw up another delivery server here or throw up something there and move there. Naturally, as time goes on, the UI is going to improve. As sort of 7.2, 7.3, 7.4, again, forgive me, the versions are not publicly defined, but as the new sort of 7x versions come out, there will be new capabilities in terms of testing UI. I'll give you an example. Over the coming months, we're going to be working on redefining some of the publishing capabilities. So when a marketing user or a content editor creates a piece of content, when they hit the publish button, they'll be given the opportunity to publish or publish and test. So again, starting to unify some of the UIs together so that we can have much more integrated marketing operations. John referred to it as orchestration. So that's a sort of a snippet of where the UI is starting to go. One of the big trends that I'm going to see with Sitecore 8 is probably the adoption of Speak. So hands up, has anybody heard of Speak, apart from the presentation today? So a few people. So Speak, another one of those wonderful Sitecore acronyms. We know we love them, and you know we love them. It's the Sitecore Process Enablement and Acceleration Kit. Somebody gets paid an awful lot of money to come up with these, so don't worry. The Speak application is really a UI framework. It's a UI framework for us to build our own applications like email campaign manager, testing manager, automation, media selectors, all these other wonderful gadgets that Sitecore are building, reporting, dashboards, all that type of stuff. But it's also a UI for you guys to build stuff in. So I'll give you an example. A customer we're talking to at the moment, large organization, they manage rights for a particular part of the entertainment industry. Internally, they have 27 different line of business applications. Everything from finance, DRM, rights management, CRM, all these wonderful systems. The biggest driver from the CIO to the CMO was how can we make all those applications work just that little bit more seamlessly? The CIO said, oh, we'll just stick in a service layer. Great. The CMO went, yeah, but what's the usability of that? How can we make people use it? How can we integrate all those functions? When somebody puts something on the website, that might need to put stuff in 15 of those 27 applications. So the Speak UI is a development framework that allows you to put a layer on top of those 27 applications and then surface it in a Sitecore UI where you benefit from workflow, security, scaling, management, and all those other wonderful pieces. Another example of what we're doing with the Speak UI is a brand we're talking to at the moment said, your content editor is kind of nice, your page editor is kind of nice, but our marketing and content creation process is completely different to that, and we need something better. Okay, great. And we've mocked up a 5-stage process in the Speak UI that says, okay, section 1, add some fields. Section 2, workflow it. Section 3, create some tweets. Section 4, create a special landing page and a PPC ad. Section 5, deploy. And then section 6 is all the reports for that particular campaign. You'll see an example of that in the campaign launch application that's on the Sitecore Marketplace. So that's just an example application of how you can create pages, send emails, create tweets, all in one lovely UI. So I think Sitecore 8 is going to be massively about the adoption of Speak and bringing the content management and the marketing operations process more tightly together. And probably some shiny new buttons as well. I hope that gives you an insight into the future. So is there any more questions? Go on, go for it. Far away.
It's around the cube you mentioned. Thank you. It's around the cube you mentioned.
The cube, yep.
Yeah, the data cube.
Yep.
How scalable is it going to be in terms of if we've got X number of systems running on different databases? Is it something we'll be able to upload information into and just use one cube, or will we be pushing or pulling, basically?
Sure. Well, the cube in terms of Sitecore context is essentially taking all the data out of the analytics database and putting it into a defined intelligence model. It's about sort of taking it all up and putting it into something that you can use with business intelligence tools. In terms of Sitecore, scalability, I mean, SQL Analysis Services is a very powerful and scalable tool. Some people go, oh, SQL Server doesn't scale. It runs the NASDAQ. I mean, you can't really get much bigger than that. So In terms of the platform we've chosen, SQL Analysis Services is definitely the route forward. In terms of scale, we've got a few customers putting a good couple of terabytes through it at the moment. Where I think we might see some challenges with the cube is when we start to bring in other data into the platform, so offline data, transactional data, CRM data. Naturally, they'll probably rely on their own cubes, which is where you take 3 or 4 cubes from each of those systems and bring them together in one business intelligence scenario, and then you can model the data and use drill pads and all these wonderful things that business intelligence guys like. So I think in reality it'll scale. Time will tell. A lot of the re-architecture of the platform in the Andes code name, which I mentioned and John mentioned earlier, that will bring a slightly different flavor of a cube and what we call the RDB capability, which is the reporting database, and that will include things like map reduce functionality and the ability to do statistical analysis on live data and things like that. So there's a whole unknown area. As you guys as customers start to use it, we'll start to see how it scales, but we're testing well. So. Super. Phil.
Hi, Anthony. Phil, Sitecore.
Phil from Sitecore. Go ahead, buddy.
I had someone ask me during the break about wanting to integrate their CRM with their Sitecore.
Sure.
Maybe you could talk a little bit around the benefits of that and maybe what capabilities you have.
Sure. What I'll do is I'm just going to bring up a quick bunch of slides, actually. So give me 2 seconds. I've got a couple of really nice slides that are going to just talk to you about CRM. So 1 second. We will just hope that SkyDrive is all up and working. Whilst I'm finding that, please think of other questions. So, are we okay for screen? Great stuff. So I did a webinar on this a while ago, and there's a video on YouTube, on the Sitecore Facebook, and on the partner network, and etc., which you can grab for this. But I'll just show you some key slides. So people sort of say to me, Anthony, why does Sitecore not have CRM capability? Because we're not a CRM system. We're a customer engagement platform. We're an experience, we're all about digital. CRM systems are extremely mature, and you're not going to want to recreate CRM functionality in Sitecore. It's just not natural. However, when you put the two together, they are extremely powerful. So, how can integration stream online and offline business processes, and how can CRM help you move towards more sophisticated personalization? We all know what a CRM system is. If you don't, there's the description. It's a model for managing information, etc. It fits very nicely into the maturity model, because when you start to get up into these areas here, it's all about repositories and data hubs and merging online and offline data. I'm just going to skip through a few of these. So, why is it a natural fit? Well, CRM often holds data about offline interactions, calls, emails, lead management processes, sales activities, etc. It can be line of business data, such as purchase history or customer records. CRM doesn't just have to be sales guy putting in activities. CRM in your business might be your customer intelligence database. It might be whatever that is. It can often hold service and support data and a lot more. The Sitecore CEP, though, holds lots of data about visits and form completions and behavioral data and all the page views, goals and campaigns and everything we talked about today. So when you integrate Sitecore and CRM, you can do 3 things, really. You can share content, so you can get data from the web into CRM really quickly. You can enable your sales team with real-time insight. What do I mean by that? Any of you who've been through the Sitecore sales process, which quite a few of you have been, at some point, one of the Sitecore sales guys or girls would have phoned you up and had a conversation with you. What you might not have known is that if you, on the other end of the phone, had been on any of our websites, watched any of our campaigns, responded to any of our emails, he's got CRM open in front of him, and he's got all that activity in front of him. If you've logged in using Facebook, we've probably got your name, your date of birth, your age, and all the other bits and pieces as well. So you can collect an enormous amount of data from the web, and you can synchronize that into CRM very quickly and very easily. Again, that making your B2B sales cycles much more effective. Perhaps you're in a support scenario with Eon, for example, and you want to bring behavioral data into the line of business application so that when they call them, they can work out whether they've been looking at the boiler pages or they've been looking at the thermostat pages. It's just good, actionable insight. Naturally, there's a whole lot of data. You need to put some business strategy and process around it to refine, cutting out the dead data and making it useful and relevant. It also reduces a lot of developer effort. Sitecore's out-of-the-box capabilities, reduce programming, project costs and risk. Of course, it's all going to be a little bit salesy. So here's a simple scenario, okay? Customer completes the website form. Using one of the Sitecore connectors for either Microsoft Dynamics or Salesforce, you can integrate with any other platforms, SAP, Siebel, any Oracle, any custom flavored stuff, Coins, which is a specific one for the house building industry. There's loads of different examples. Contact and activities created in CRM. Customer service and sales is notified by email. That can be done in CRM or using Sitecore Marketing Automation. The customer service can then review the activity, complete the notes for a call, and the activity can be converted to an opportunity. I challenge any Sitecore 6.5, 6.6, 7, or 7.1 customer to not have that scenario up and running within a week, excluding your normal agency delivery cycles and all that sort of stuff. That's a really, really simple process. All the agency owners sat in the room and going, oh, he keeps committing to those bloody timescales. But it is a really, in the grand scheme of things, it's a really simple thing to get done. That's assuming you have a CRM system that's open and exposed and all available and all those other technical hurdles. But the Sitecore bit's relatively simple. I'm not going to give you a demo. It's on the webinar if you want, and you'll see me going through all the UIs and all the wonderful stuff connecting it together. So what about simple membership? So customer completes a registration form. Sitecore account is created, so we're using Sitecore for membership now. And then what we're doing is using Sitecore Email Campaign Manager, send out confirmation emails and all those bits. Customer can now log into the website using a Sitecore-generated username and password, and a contact is created in Dynamics. In this little line here, there is a bit of duplication logic. Does this customer already exist? Should I append it? All those usual bits and pieces. That's handled by the technology. No need to worry too much about that. But you can configure the business rules and how you want to deal with that. So what if we take that on a little bit deeper? Personalization. Some of this data in CRM can be useful for personalization. Customer attended an event. If that's an activity inside Microsoft Dynamics, then that might be useful for personalizing the journey on the web. So, customer completes the registration form. Account is created. Sitecore ECM sends confirmation email. Customer can log in. A contact is matched in CRM, all live. And if it's cached, then it's cached, but it'll be live. Customer logs into the website. Personalization rules are detected, and the page is personalized. That's kind of simple to do. The example from Monarch is a really good example of that. That's connecting over an API to a booking system to get whether they're halfway through the booking, and if they're not, then throw up a different banner. That's another example of how you can do that through CRM integration using the connectors or bespoke integration using the rules engine. And some more examples. You want to then email a campaign to a marketing list. So one of the major benefits for integrating Sitecore with Dynamics or Salesforce is that all the contacts and all the marketing lists that you create inside those systems, you can directly access inside Sitecore's Email Campaign Manager. That's a really good way forward. If you're using Dynamics, you're probably seeing campaigns and quick campaigns and marketing lists. You can create those marketing lists, and when you hit save, they just appear in the Sitecore Email Campaign Manager as a list that you can send to. Again, that's all in the demo and the video. We can show you that in action. But marketer creates a list in CRM, so we're going CRM to Sitecore now. Goes to Sitecore, creates an email campaign, picks said list, sends email, tracks performance, and any applicable reporting data is passed back to CRM. Maybe the last open date, last contact date, maybe whether they clicked on a campaign, and then all the other Sitecore data like downloads and likes and shares and ratings can be passed back as activities. I'm not going to show you a demonstration right now. But in summary, Sitecore has a CRM integration framework. We have our own connector for Dynamics. A technology partner based in New Zealand has a connector for Salesforce, and many partners have done integrations into other systems out there. If you're looking for a partner who has done an integration and you just need some expertise, then you need to talk to one of the Sitecore team and we can tell you about that. If not, and you're a partner wanting to do it, you come and talk to me and we'll give you access to the teams and the documentation, etc. It's a really, really good way to start scaling up the digital maturity model by looking at CRM and looking at the value in data. And that's where the real value is, in data. Does that answer your question, Phil? Super. Okay, any more?
One more.
Go for it.
I just wondered what kind of developments you had for ECM.
Developments for ECM?
Sorry,
Email Campaign Manager. Yeah, so hands up anybody who's seen or used or flirted with Email Campaign Manager before. Couple of hands up. Great stuff. Okay, so Email Campaign Manager is due another release in probably 3-4 months' time. Not committing to that publicly, just to clarify. but it is due another release, and the major focus on that is going to be list management capabilities native to the Sitecore platform. That's the key focus on that release. That will bring the capabilities for static lists, upload a CSV, add a bunch of people, or from a web form, subscribe people to a list. We already have all of this. We just don't have a nice, wonderful UI that makes it easy when compared to things like, Campaign Monitor or MailChimp, etc. Which is why the CRM story really plays, because that's when you can do list management in CRM. One of the other things is the concept of dynamic segmentation and dynamic lists. So you'll be able to create a list with a bunch of criteria. As a user matches criteria, they'll float in and out of lists. So you could say, this list is for all customers who've been on the website in the last 5 days and have downloaded this brochure and have completed the first 2 stages of the booking funnel. And as users match that segment, they will float in and out of a list. So you can have regular marketing automation set up to trigger emails out that only send to people matching in the list. So again, you can set up some level of dynamic nature of emails. For those of you who just want to send out the usual weekly marketing campaign, well, you can do that now, but you'll be able to do it a lot slicker with the new release coming. Super. Any more questions? Go for it.
Just with CRM, could you just give an overview briefly of the mobile SDKs and their capabilities?
Sure. Yeah. So the mobile SDK that's available to you right now on the Sitecore Developer Network is basically a grey app. It's like a grey, ready-made sort of framework in iOS, in Objective-C. And inside there are a whole bunch of ready-made web service calls that can talk back to an API in Sitecore. So you can still apply all your own creativity, all your own functionality, but if you want to populate content inside your app from Sitecore, which is hosted somewhere, wherever it's hosted in the cloud, then it comes in 2 parts. A web service you install onto Sitecore, which you then lock down to the app, and then the application SDK, which you build your normal app, but you bring in the Sitecore libraries so that you've got ready-made code to talk and authenticate and share content, and there's local caching involved and all that sort of stuff. John, I believe there's a Windows mobile version around somewhere as well?
Yeah.
And an Android SDK as well. If they're not up there yet, they will be imminently. And if you have a need where you're doing Android, then you give me a ring and we'll see what we can sort out.
So that will pull content in.
Yep.
Also push analytics data back into Sitecore.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, it's an SDK for passing mobile data back. Yeah, and it will be considered another channel. So inside Sitecore, if you've ever gone down into the settings section and you've gone down into layouts, you'll see a section called devices. And in any Sitecore installation, you'll see one called the default device, and that's your website. If you're building it responsive only, you'll have default only and you'll use responsive. If you're doing it properly, which is kind of the responsive adaptive route, you'll have the desktop as default, you'll have the tablet as another device, you'll have a smartphone as another, and then you use responsive to map to the different devices, which is adaptive approach. If anybody wants a 15-page guide on that, I wrote one last year with the corporate team, which you can download, which is quite helpful in demystifying the different options. You would then have other devices for the mobile app, the smart TV, or the touchscreen, or the whatever it is that you need. Yeah. If you've got a requirement or you want to have a chat about it, then just give me a shout and we'll hook up sometime later next week to do that. So. I saw one other hand going up. Go for it.
Just extension of that, are there any plans to extend that to the web app sort of model, the Accenture, Kendo, UI type models?
You could use one half of the SDK, which is the API, to write your own code that uses those to pull data from Sitecore. There's no real plans for us to bring in anything proprietary into those, web app type models. There are, however, loads of really good single-page application web app type approaches that are mobile compatible that have been done. A really good example is Love Gold. That's a really nice one done by the guys at AKQA. That's a really nice responsive, adaptive, single-page app with infinite scroll, user-generated content, login, all that type of stuff, sharing and everything else. That's quite frankly, it's an amazing. If you've ever looked at the source code in the JavaScript, it's very, very, very clean. So. Super. Well, if there's no more questions, then Steve, what's the plan next? Right, well, thank you very much for your time today. Please head outside and get some refreshments, accost any of the Sitecore team, and we'll see you next time. Thank you very much.